Well, hello everyone and welcome to DisplayWeek 2020. My name is Brian Berkeley. As a past president of SID on behalf of both SID 2020 and Nanosys, I'm your host for interactive discussions this week as we have conversations with key display industry leaders and influencers. It is my honor to introduce today's esteemed guest, Dr. Paul Alivisatos. Dr. Alivisatos is a distinguished professor of nanoscience at UC Berkeley, where he holds appointments as professor of both chemistry and materials science. He is an internationally recognized authority on nanochemistry and, among many accomplishments, is an industry pioneer in the development of semiconductor quantum dots. Dr. Alivisatos has made fundamental discoveries that have helped the world to better understand nanoscale science. He has won dozens of awards, including the Wolf Prize in Chemistry, the Linus Pauling Award, the National Medal of Science, and appointment to the National Academy of Engineering. In fact, it was just announced that Dr. Alivisatos is this year's winner of the Priestley Medal, which is the highest honor conferred by the American Chemical Society. He is also the recipient of this year's Jan Reichman Award from SID. His work spans numerous important applications, including displays, biotechnology, and energy. Dr. Alivisatos also happens to be a co-founder of Nanosys, who is sponsoring these talks. Paul, thanks for joining us and welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, Brian. I'm really thrilled to be here and to have a conversation with you for this event.
Well, first, congratulations on winning the Priestley Medal. How did you find out?
I got an email saying I'd like a phone call with you from the president of the ACS, and then we had a phone call. It was really wonderful. I'm so honored to get that award. It's a very special one. I'm really grateful, and I'm grateful especially to all my coworkers over many decades.
Well, again, congratulations. It's huge. These times are so different right now, and I'm wondering how the pandemic has affected you personally as well as your research.
Yeah. Well, personally, it has such a dramatic impact. We've been sheltering in place as a family now since around March 12th. So it's quite a while. And it's definitely a very different experience of life. We're kind of fragmented, isolated. We connect with each other via these kinds of video events. And I think most people are experiencing it as being a complicated, hard time to manage through because of our loss of human connection in so many ways. But we're here as a family. Our family is safe. Our daughters live in the area, and so we're in a social bubble together. We're doing our best all to manage. And I imagine that's true for most of the participants in this virtual conference, is that it's had a big, big effect on their lives. So I hope they're doing okay. I will say that for our research, our research group shut down for a while in terms of in-person, being able to come in and do work in the lab. But actually, we had a very, I have to say, in the end, an extremely fruitful period when we explored a lot of projects that were of a kind of data mining and machine learning kind of activities, which actually opened up some new avenues for research for us. So it was actually a very productive time for the research group, actually. And I'd say about a month ago, we received limited access back to our laboratories, and to the, I think, great relief of all the early career people who are working with me, who can now do experiments again. And so we're back, we're running, and there's a lot of good work going on in the lab.
That's good to hear. As far as UC Berkeley is concerned, I heard that they had gone to all remote instruction for the fall quarter.
Well, we had been planning, and we have planned to offer some in-person instruction, but during the last several weeks, the public health situation wasn't improving enough to allow that to occur. So we will certainly start the semester remotely. we have more than 1,000 instruction type of activities that we could offer in person with social distancing if the health conditions improve. So we might shift back to some limited in-person instruction partway through the term if, let's say, in October, it turned out that public health conditions had improved sufficiently to allow it. But for many students, that's they have to make decisions about their housing and other things, and any student will have the option to do their entire semester remotely if that's what's best for them.
I know one of the ways that COVID-19 has affected both of us. I wanted to know if you had received something that looks kind of like this in the mail in just the past couple of days.
I did, yes.
That would be your Jan Reichman prize.
Yeah, that's correct.
So congratulations on that as well from SID.
Thank you so much.
What I just showed was the service award, and both you and I were supposed to receive those on stage during DisplayWeek. And of course, since DisplayWeek is going to be held remotely, we got our package in the mail, but again,
actually, I just got something. Let me just grab this here.
Okay.
I think this is what I got, and it just came yesterday, and it's kind of this medal, and it's really nice. And so it just came in the mail, and I got it, I guess, on Saturday.
Fantastic. That's the Jan Reichman medal, and you are one of the medal award recipients this year.
Yes, so. Along with Munji, yes, my great colleague, and
the
awards
Munji
Wendy from MIT.
Yeah, awards just keep coming in for you. I wonder what you feel is the most exciting advance you've seen in nanoscience in the past year. And can you talk about it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I just want to say that the field of nanoscience, it just keeps gaining momentum and new things happen with some regularity here. So this is actually a pretty hard question to answer because there's so many wonderful things going on. But I will point out one thing, which is it's been in my mind for a while now, which is in the last few years, and with a really interesting publication this year, we now have some examples where the structure of a quantum dot, of a nanocrystal, I should say more correctly, has been determined at the atomic level, the position of every atom listed as this is where it is on this particular crystal, one crystal at a time. And I'm very excited about that because we have a long progression of making ever better nanomaterials, but typically we only know average positions for many of them, and it's a little bit like what happened in biology when the structure of proteins could be determined with atomic precision. All of a sudden, it opened up a whole new way of thinking about biological chemistry. And I think the ability to actually find and know the position of every atom in a crystal with real accuracy. So very much like the way we determine the properties of proteins, where we know the position of every atom. We're now getting to the point where we can do that for our small crystals that are made in the laboratory. And I think that's going to usher in an era where we can control matter much more precisely and achieve much higher performance properties.
If we talk specifically about quantum dots, what are you most excited about these days, whether it's display applications or biomedical, energy, or some other area?
Sure.
What excites you?
Yeah, I can tell you what I'm really interested in myself more than anything else, which is in the last period of time also, we've started to prepare quantum dots that have the ability to absorb and then emit light with no quantum losses. In other words, every time a quantum dot is excited, it will emit light. And when I say every time, I mean maybe only 1 out of 1,000,000 times would it not emit a photon.
Wow, that's like a superconducting quantum dot.
Yeah,
100% efficiency.
It's really approaching 100% efficiency, getting closer and closer to that. A display today probably has 95% efficiency, and that's plenty good enough because, 1 out of every 20 excitations maybe is lost, but that's negligible, and the display is bright enough, and so on. But with this new kind of quantum dot that's emerging, we can use those to concentrate sunlight and then to make new kinds. It will sound a little funny, Brian, but we can make new kinds of engines where instead of having a piston and cylinder with a gas, it would actually be light that's being compressed and expanded in order to harvest energy.
That is the wildest thing I've heard in a long time, but anything coming out of the Alivisatos labs, I believe it.
Well, it hasn't been done yet, and it's a project for a whole field of people to work together. But I don't think it's so crazy, and I think 5-10 years from now, we may have made certain kinds of engines that work with photons instead of working with conventional expansion contraction like a conventional refrigerator does. And those will have their own uses that will be very special. So that's kind of, my mind is engaged in thinking about that problem a lot of the time. And it's a little bit far from displays, but it could turn out to be really interesting at some point.
That sounds so interesting. Of course, SID is associated with and focused on displays. And if we talk about quantum dots, they can be applied to actually many different kinds of display technologies. And that includes photoluminescent color conversion for LCDs, likewise photoluminescent applications for OLEDs, such as with, I think they're calling it QD OLED. And then there's future micro LED applications, also photoluminescent, but then further out, QD-EL, where instead of exciting the quantum dot with photonic input, it's through an electric current. So I'm wondering if you have thoughts on future QD-based display applications, the likely directions or the greatest potential.
Yeah. Well, I think that, as you point out, there are many ways to use a quantum dot in order to make a display. And all of them feature one thing in common, which is increasing the color gamut. And I think it's just important to take a moment and think about how wonderful that is, that these displays are getting better and better at being able to show the colors that we experience, that we live with, being able to show them true to what we see around us, and giving artists and creators that extra power to express their vision. I just think it's a wonderful development, and the quantum dots will continue on a pretty steady progression, and it's very interesting to think about. As you say, down the line, the QD LEDs, all electrically pumped, they are making dramatic progress right now, and I'm sure we will be seeing products down the road that use that, and that will be really important for low backgrounds, for having dark, very dark LEDs, and for many other such kind of applications. And also, we'll be seeing better energy performance out of those. Handheld devices and other things will take advantage of that very beautifully. But I also think there'll be ever brighter, extremely bright displays, which will have their own uses in select technologies. So I think there's a full range of further developments to be had there in the quantum dot display arena. And there'll probably be a succession of developments over at least a decade for those to completely mature. And so I think that's really exciting, and I'm looking forward to both to trying to be a part of helping those things occur, but also having those devices. I want to have them myself to use. I think that'll be great.
Well, that's what makes it so exciting, is when not only have you taken part in inventing something, but it's something that you get to use as part of your life experience.
I'm an amateur photographer, and I really enjoy doing that. And so I'm excited about the prospects of having a sensor, a camera sensor, and a set of displays along the workflow, and then the final print, all being able to really show the full color spectrum better and better. That I'm excited about that.
Well, and that's an essential element of the reproduction chain. And so how wonderful to be able to have participated in making that possible. True to life reproduction is one way to refer to it. A lot of people attend the SID conference and participate with the society, and I am sure that they are interested in getting direction from you. Would you like to offer any guidance to SID participants, especially with regards to nanoscience and quantum dots?
Well, I'm sure that this SID
please use them, right?
Well, I guess please use them, but also anything that a participant wants to do to try to understand them a little better, because they have yet to achieve their full potential. They're doing a lot of important heavy work inside displays today, but there's more to come. And I think one of the things I find very, very fun at attending an SID is how, to me, there are kind of two things always to look for. One is what's new at the highest end. What is some kind of a new type of display that just hasn't been shown before. But the other part I especially like to pay attention to is what has finally become accessible to the largest part of the market. And every year that grows. And to my mind, that's in some ways, they're both very, very interesting. But at this point in time for the quantum dots, I'm, of course, very eager to see that part, because that's when it finds its way into the hands of the most people. And so that's, I will certainly, when I'm visiting SID, I'll look for that.
One of the things that we've seen is that quantum dots have most certainly moved into the mainstream. I see that there's still places that you can go, even these days. You can go to Costco and there are other places. And
yeah.
When you see all these QD-based sets there, that's certainly exciting.
Yeah.
I wonder if you have thoughts on how SID, as an industry-supporting organization, can help to bring new technologies into the mainstream.
Yeah. Well, frankly, I think there are many things that SID does. Some of them are educational. for the technology community itself. If we take the example of quantum dots, it really does require an entire range of companies to be involved along a value chain, along a production chain, but also as a competition marketplace. And when a new technology or new material becomes available, there's an essential function of helping everybody understand it and then become able to be part of that ecosystem. So I think SID has done a lot of that over the years, and I think it's a really important piece of it. But the second piece that's out there, and I think it is quite important, is to really help consumers understand what the different technologies are. I did purchase a television recently. I won't say which model, but it's of course a quantum dot TV. And I will say that there are so many specifications out there in the marketplace that different manufacturers use. It can create confusion for the consumer to try to understand, how do I know which product to buy? How do I understand that? And I think SID plays an important role in helping create the kinds of information that an educated consumer can access and know more, so that they can be able in the marketplace to make their own decision.
One of the areas where I'm involved is in this SID group that goes by the name of the International Committee for Display Metrology, or ICDM. And the ICDM publishes a how-to guide in terms of making measurements. It's called the IDMS. And we're actively working on a V1.1 release right now. And so even just unifying the metrics and the way that these products get characterized can therefore become important. And so I'm feeling good about the opportunity to meet that need that you speak of. So that's important feedback for us, and I assure you that we'll keep going with those efforts.
Yeah, well, thank you. I think that's really important, and it helps just lift everybody. So it's a good thing.
I got involved as an executive committee member last year, and we're picking up steam. It's not. We're not supposed to talk about the specific activities, so I'll defer on that for now. But just know that we're working on addressing that need that you've mentioned. So, Paul, what do you feel is the biggest challenge facing the display industry?
Oh my gosh, the display
maybe
industry,
not a fair question, because I know that's not the thrust of your research, or the only area of research, but.
Well, I think the display industry is facing a number of challenges, and one of them certainly is that the expansion of the industry, in my mind, really does depend on creating new ways that consumers interact with their displays. Obviously, there's a sort of conventional set of ways in which we interact with displays, and that's an active marketplace, and it has continuous improvement, and so consumers do gravitate to newer displays over time within the existing way of using them. But I think there's still a lot of growth to take place as new ways of interacting develop. And obviously the small phones represent, that was a huge wave that has come through the system. But I think we know that lurking out there are some other additional ways of working with displays that just haven't yet become widespread. And I guess, to my mind, that if some of those are able to materialize at scale, whether they're AR, VR kind of activities, or whether they're very, very different kinds of displays that might be used in the workplace and so on. I think there are a number of possibilities there for essentially what amounts to still very nascent markets that could turn out to be really important.
Well, there's this symbiotic relationship between newer and better displays that achieve certain capabilities and form factor, power consumption, a variety of targets that then enable applications, new types of applications, such as the ones that you're speaking of. You know, the phones that we carry around today would not have been possible without the display technology. Devices like advanced watches that connect to the phones.
Yeah.
Think about that, and the displays have been a critical part of that. So I think we can have confidence that there are a number of companies working on innovation, both for the device as well as the systems that incorporate those displays. And I look forward to seeing that too. I have a final question for you. You're one of the foremost scientists in the world, and based on your journey in discovering and growing the technology, I wonder if there are any stories or lessons that you would like to share with young scientists or entrepreneurs who are getting started in this field.
Yeah, sure. Well, you know, these journeys are always full of unpredictability. So I will say that my first experience with the topic of nanoscience, when that occurred, I could never have imagined what those materials would be used for. I had simply been learning about certain aspects of chemistry and physics that I didn't understand well enough for myself, for my own understanding that I wanted to have. And I was fortunate that I had the opportunity to be in a very exciting environment at Bell Laboratories. And Munji also was there a little bit later. And it was just a period of asking very open-ended questions in a way that was really exhilarating. But I think we had no idea that these would turn out to be displays and all of those kinds of things that materialized later, biolabels, whatever. And so I guess if we're talking about wanting to see some kind of a new breakthrough, then it's important to be really trying to ask fundamental questions and not to believe that people already know the answers to them. Because especially somebody that gets to be a little bit older in career like me, we've tried a lot of things, and some have worked and some didn't. And I think a new person coming in has the chance to take a fresh look at things and to be kind of pushing things in ways that are quite different. And I just can't encourage an early career person enough to say, hey, get to know what people are currently knowing and what the important figures in your field think. But don't be afraid to think that there's entirely new knowledge that we just don't have yet. It's out there. And so I would say that's probably my biggest encouragement. For entrepreneurs, it's a little different. And my sense is that there too, it's important to really be having an open mind about what isn't known. But of course, the process of discovery there is quite different. And I don't think I'm as expert as many others would be in that. I feel a lot more comfortable talking about more the fundamental discovery than I would about how to be a great interpreter.
Well, sometimes things do work out really well. And, what I hear you saying is don't be afraid to go into new areas and don't feel limited. There may be failures along the way, but there can also be some really big successes too. And
yeah, take a risk.
Take a risk. Take a risk.
It's much better to take a risk than it is to do something where it's already kind of circumscribed.
Fantastic advice. And Paul, I just want to thank you for your time today. That's going to be a wrap from DisplayWeek 2020. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure,
okay.
And
thank you.
It's been very inspiring. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and good luck to everyone working our way through this terrible pandemic. Hopefully, we'll come out the other side. I'm hopeful for that. Thank you.
Thank you.